more properties of servlets and JSP and JDBC. Yeah. So this topic, Java database connectivity, this important topic I also added to this module. Yeah. All right. Part A, more features of servlets and JSP. All right. First, we learned the concept implicit objects last time. So now we know what's the meaning of that, implicit objects. For this part, we want to see how do we use it? What is the right way to use implicit objects? Yeah. All right. So inside JSP, some places you can use implicit object, but some places you cannot. So that's important. So first, let's look at the places that we can put implicit objects. Then we try to understand why is that. All right. Now we need to get into this underscore JSP service method. So remember the last time when a JSP is translated into a servlet, so this method is created by the server, right? And more specifically, let me write this way. There is a service method. Because when a JSP translated into a servlet, for a servlet, this method is required. Okay? That method is required. All right. Then inside this service method, then for JSP, yeah, only JSP has this one. Servlet does not have this one. So this is special method for JSP. So underscore JSP service. Okay, yeah. So another method inside that service method. Yeah. So what you see is this picture. Yeah. All right. So now, the first thing tells you implicit objects can only be used inside JSP service method, not outside. Outside, so you have, some places, yeah, before, after, underscore JSP service, but you cannot use implicit object. You cannot. Yeah. All right. So that's the meaning. Yeah. The container creates implicit object and passes them into this method. Okay? Passes into this method. Right. Creates, yeah, passes into, yeah. Into in which way, in which way, and not necessarily through parameter, could be here, right? At the beginning of this method. Yeah. At the beginning of this underscore JSP service method. Yeah. So then after that, you can use implicit objects. Yeah. All right. Based on that background, because that is the reason behind the way we can use implicit objects, then we can have these rules. Yeah. So you can use implicit objects in JSP scriptlets. Okay? So in your JSP scriptlets, so this is a scriptlet environment, right? Yeah. Then you can use JSP implicit objects. Yeah. Because, yeah, let me admit it. New student. All right. Oh, yeah. Remember, after I'm admitted, my remote control doesn't work. I need to, restart it. Yeah. All right, let me get to the point, okay? All right, so we are here, scriptlets, okay? Yeah. Because scriptlets, now we know scriptlets is inside underscore JSP service. Okay, yeah. Completely inside this environment. So you can use implicit objects there. Okay, no problem. The second, JSP expressions. When you use inside of JSP, when you use JSP expressions, some noise, yeah, you can also use implicit objects here, because this part will also go to that underscore JSP service method. See, so you can see, yeah, based on that understanding, so we can understand better. Okay, so these two things, so you can comfortably use implicit objects. All right. Then there are two places you cannot use JSP implicit objects. The first one is JSP directives. Remember JSP directives we learned last time, at sign, okay? So there are three JSP directives, at sign, yeah. This part, because this part will be copied outside, okay? Outside this method. Yeah, so later we will see that. Later, we will understand where do we copy JSP directives outside this method. Okay? Then you cannot use JSP implicit objects. Another JSP declarations we learned last time. So this is JSP declaration, exclamation sign. Declaration. So you can declare variables, classes, methods in this part, okay, if you need. And this part also copy outside of JSP, underscore JSP service method. So these two places, so you cannot use that implicit objects. Okay? So that's, so the rules you can and you cannot based on the underlying, another admit. All right, so this time I need to restart again my presentation. Yeah. All right, the second page. I mean, second half, the same page, but the second half. Yeah, I mean, class scope and a method scope. These two concepts related to what we are talking in the first half of the page. Class scope and a method scope. First, you have some background about the scope concept in computer programming. Programming, we talk about scope. Yeah. Here, we have these two situations, the class scope and the method scope. So specifically, when we talk about JSP translated servlet class, now we have this issue. Yeah. All right, so let me, because after you translate JSP, you have a servlet class. Okay. So let me just write JSP servlet class. Okay. Yeah. So this is the class translated. Okay. All right. So you have a lot of things inside. All right. But inside somewhere, then you have underscore JSP service method. inside. Right. Now, a member inside the class scope can also be accessed member inside method scope. All right, that means here, okay, if you declare a member in this location, yeah, because it must be inside the class, inside this pair of curly braces, okay, this place outside underscore JSP service method, but it can be used, right? Yeah, based on our Java background. Yeah. So if you have the Java background, yeah, I think you have, yeah, you can use inside the method scope. Yeah. What's the method scope? The method here refers to this method, this specific method, underscore JSP service method. Okay. Yeah. But not the opposite. Yeah. If we go to the opposite direction, yeah, it's not. Now, declaration. The declaration goes to this part, have the class scope. Yeah. So declaration can be used inside the service method, underscore JSP service method. All right. Scope of, yeah, I erase that. Scope of the underscore, yeah, this method. Yeah. A member in the method scope, yeah, here, cannot be accessed outside this method. Yeah. So definitely, when you define some method here, okay, some member, yeah, not necessarily method, some member. Member could be variable, could be method. You cannot use it outside it. Okay? So that's very natural. All right. Then implicit variables. Yeah. Here, implicit variables. Here it is variable. Yeah. I talked about this last time. This is the same as implicit objects. Okay. People just call and also call the variable. The implicit variables have the method scope. Okay. So they are created at the beginning. Yeah. So now here you can see at the beginning of this method. Yeah. All right. So with this background, then a lot of behaviors, a lot of special JSP element behaviors you can understand well. Yeah. Because there are so many rules. So when you learn more and more, you will have this situation. You need to memorize so many rules. For most of you, it is very hard. So how can I memorize all those rules? Yeah. The easiest way is you understand the background, because all those rules are derived from some background. Here, we are learning that background. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the